Hello, all. I am Hannah, and my co host.
Hi, I'm Anna Rose, and welcome to As It Is, Like It Was, a podcast dedicated to artists around the world. Before we begin, a note on our content.
As It Is Like It Was is created for adult audiences only and may include graphic descriptions of violence, abuse, addiction, and trauma, discussion of sexuality and gender, discussion of mental illness and existential struggle, and some very filthy language.
The views, information, or opinions expressed during As It Is Like It Was are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Nothing Without a Company.
As It Is Like It Was is sponsored by you, our listeners. A short announcement. Come celebrate AAPI month with Asia on Argyle in Uptown Chicago this Saturday, May 29th, 2021 from noon to 9 p.m. There will be storefront pop-ups, boba drinks, live art and art sales, mutual aid, hot meals, yoga sessions, vendors, a live DJ, musical acts, and cultural performances including Aloha Center Chicago's Lani Aloha Lee. She has a set from 2 to 3:30 p.m. So join us if can this Saturday, May 29th, 2021 from noon to 9 p.m.
This is our fourth episode airing live on Thursday, May 27th with our guest, Sharon. Sharon.
Pasha.
Sharon Pasha.
It's so good.
And Scott Hinata. Enjoy the show.
Yes, one of our two guests today is Sharon Pasha. Sharon, she is a queer Filipino Chicago-based actor and performer. However, due to the pandemic, they've been on a small hiatus, trying to survive these trying times by chilling at home and eating veggies with their bunny Sprout. However, after a year-long break, they're very excited to get back in the groove of acting and performing and is super excited to be on this wonderful podcast. Past theater and film credits include AFYT's The Glow Up Ensemble, The Telephone Game as Rose, Holy Saturday as Alice, as well as NWAC's production of Pakalolo Suite as Nani. For more bunny pics, awkward roller skating videos, and TikToks, follow them on their Instagram at PASIA.
Our other guest today is Scott Minata. Scott is a fourth-generation Japanese-American born, raised in Hawaii, and left the island 8 years ago for Chicago to continue his improv and comedy journey. The path he took allowed him to tour the country, teaching and performing improv in its various forms. Over the past couple of years, he has rediscovered his love for script theater and was honored to help introduce Chicago to Hawaiian Pidgin English as Uncle Makana in Hana E. Epstein's Not One Batu and Pakalolo Suite. You can find him on Facebook under his name and on Insta at Scott Improv. So Sharon and Scott, welcome.
Oh my gosh, it's our month, y'all. It's AAPI month. How do you feel? Do you feel seen this month? How do you feel about AAPI month?
Well, and can we clarify that? Because Biden decided May 30th of this year that it wasn't actually AAPI month. It was AANHPI month. Did y'all know that?
Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander month.
Wow.
So they got that Native Hawaiian in there for you.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
They have a statue of King Kamehameha at the White House, so you would assume they would try to get it in there somehow.
True. Okay. Hell yeah.
Oh man. It's weird this month. Living in Hawaii, I don't even remember when AAPI month began, but I think it was still a thing when I was back home, and it wasn't a thing at all, we're everywhere back home, so it's not a month, it's
It's every day.
Yeah. So coming here and being hey, this cool month, it's sure, it's cool, I'm glad y'all are celebrating it, but why can't it be every day? Right. Kind of thing.
Right. It's girl, I've been celebrating. What do you mean?
I've never gotten like so many phone calls to like attend a Zoom conference thing for like this particular month. I don't know if like last year didn't feel as intense as it feels this year, the celebration at least. So I was like, oh yeah, I got to do like 5 different things. Like,
Well,
sure.
I don't think they had the festival on Argyle for AAPI month last year, or it was COVID. So I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Nothing happened last year.
Wait,
Um,
is AAPI month legit like a thing only this year, or has it been a thing?
ooh, that's a good question.
I feel like it's been a thing.
Yeah.
But I think it was just this year Biden like signed something like making it super official.
You know things and stuff. We follow up with the news.
Well, I think
As
it
I'm
also,
Googling.
I think it might also have to do with like, the shooting in Atlanta, right? And that kind of put a bigger spotlight on this. Last year, I remember it was still kind of a thing because it was still like, a lot of racism against Asians because that was the start of the whole COVID thing. But it's been ramping up, to that
Yeah.
hopefully biggest crescendo we will get. I pray that nothing else ever happens as horrible as Atlanta.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask y'all, did you feel?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh.
Wait, let me just throw this in real fast. So in 1999, George H.W. Bush, in 1990, sorry, George H.W. Bush, is that second George Bush or first George Bush? Anyway, he signed a bill to extend Asian American Heritage Week to Asian American Heritage Month. And then so 2 years later, it became a whole month. And then as I look on Wikipedia, like it was basically like in 2009, it was officially changed to Asian Pacific Heritage Month. And then Biden signed the thing. So it's now Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month.
Yeah. So I was going to ask y'all because
Mouthful.
I'm curious. Like, did you feel like more weary to leave your house? I mean, obviously during COVID, but like as people with brown skin, like, did you feel that racism in the air that a lot of people were talking about? Is that something, Sharon, you seem like?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm Filipino, but here in America, I'm perceived as usually Latino. So I have that privilege of, being not really a privilege per se, but when it comes to racism against Asians right now, yeah, I feel like it hasn't affected me as much as one might say, or like one might see as like, more like Eastern Asian, I feel like. Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad it didn't
Yeah.
affect you emotionally in that way.
But I was still scared for my cousins who still had more of like, Asian features that people would think. Yeah, I don't know. Like the Philippines, we're mixed in a lot of other countries. So yeah, some of my cousins, they would have more like Eastern Asian features, and I feel like I'm more Southeast Asian. And like since I have like a Portuguese grandpa, I'm more with like I look more Spanish apparently, but
Well, that's why
what
you're
I
so
feel
good at
like.
talking. You got the Portuguese side. You know
True.
them, they all talkers.
Are they
Yeah,
really?
I feel very privileged in the way that I live in Little Vietnam and I don't look as Asian as a lot of folks look out here. And
You get
so like
mistaken for
having
black a lot, actually.
yeah, but like
With your
having
dreads,
like the
maybe.
Hawaiian Chinese part, like that still doesn't push me in the continent to like full Asian. I'm gonna be attacked on the street for the things, but like I think also it's like definitely where I choose to live because when I walk to the grocery, I'm not worried. Yeah.
Right. What about you, Scott?
Oh boy, this past year has been a weird one. Not even this past year, basically since COVID. So I will say that COVID has truly or at least the pandemic and the racial like attacks, racism against Asian Americans has really like woken up the recognition of my own personal privilege as a cis male, you know. Like
Brava.
I mean, it's one of those things where like I recognize that I've always had it, but like it's really hit me hard, you know, where before all of this, right, I would and be like, well, I don't want to be around people when I go for a walk or whatever. So I'll just walk through the alley and be fine. You know, like that's no big deal. Oh, I know, I'll bike through an alley, no big deal. You know, and when talking to some of my friends who are women, they're like,
Oh, that's a no
"What
go
are
for
you?"
sure.
Right? They're like, "What are you talking about? That's insane." And when all of this started happening, it's very much like, "Oh, there's two guys in this alley. Oh, I don't know. One of them's not wearing a mask. They might, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how they're gonna react towards me. Um, on the train, I used to sleep. That was like my extra hour of sleep, right? But like now, it's like I could get jumped, you know. So it's just waking me up to like, oh snap! I really have been um, taking advantage of my privilege along the way. Um, and what really started waking me up too is, I mean, yeah, there have been a few incidences that I've had to deal with. Um, I on Roosevelt, there's a Stan's Donuts on Roosevelt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just got off. I got off the bus. Was just walking. Not even gonna go to Stan's Donuts. Just like walking along, and some dude out of nowhere starts like chasing me and yelling at me like, "Get out of here, you Chinese cat!" And I was like, "What the deuce is this?"
Right.
So I duck into Stan's, and thankfully the workers at Stan's were like, "We will protect you. You don't ever have to leave this place." Um, and they called the police. The police, of course, were going to take, I don't know, forever and a day. So they smuggled me out from the back of Stan's through Five Guys
Oh, yeah.
to like get me to get out and around. And sure enough, after I left, there was a bunch of police that dropped on that area. So that was one incident. There was another incident that happened. Oh gosh,
I'm very confused about the cat comment. Where did the cat comment come from?
So I think he meant like cat, like Chinese dude.
Oh, like a slang for dude. He used cat instead. Okay.
Or like the 101 Dalmatians, the Siamese cat.
Oh, could be that.
Yeah, like that's kind of what I went to in my brain was like, oh, he can't even like think of his own shit to say. Like he's gonna like grab some Disney stuff, you know.
I like cats. I identify as cat sometimes. So like
sure. I
was just curious.
If it wasn't for the look,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
the aggression.
The aggression. And the same thing happened just a couple weeks ago. This one was totally nonverbal. Dude was straight up rushing me. Like at first I didn't think it was anything of it. This one was in downtown. I get off the train and I see this guy kind of like swerving like that down at the far end of the block as he's walking. And I'm like, oh, probably drunk. You know, maybe a little off or whatever. I'm just going to avoid the situation. And the minute I started to like purposefully walk this way around, he locked on and just started pairing back and forth and got almost within arm's reach of me. Total nonverbal, said nothing. Eyes, just, the anger in his eyes. And he was just giving me that like, go back to where you came from hand sign. Yeah. To the point where I had to run onto the street to avoid the dude. It was an empty street. There was no cars.
Yeah, there's a lot of mental health issues running around out there.
Well, so that's the thing.
We all have mental health issues, I think, but you know, those are like unchecked at the moment.
Right. But if it was 2 years ago, I might not even have thought about, oh, it's a race thing. Right. You know, I might have just thought, oh, this dude is just dealing with something. right?
Mm.
But because of everything that happened, my first thought was, got to be a race thing, you know?
Karen, you said that you kind of took a little break from theater, and I wanted to hear your feeling about
Yeah,
that.
was that like part of the corona hitting and like everyone having to quarantine? Like, was it for like like I guess mental health safety as well as like physical safety because we all had to leave the theaters at that point?
Oh yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was aware, like the thing that the last thing I did was the Glow Up with About Face Youth Theater, and that was just like a digital show. But I kind of just took the time for like the rest of the year up until now of just a lot of introspection, I feel like. Um, I started therapy. I'm on that therapy train, and
Yes.
yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
like, even though this pandemic was really rough, I'm glad I actually took the time and had the time to actually like think for a bit, and just ponder of like what's actually happening with me as a person. um but yeah, and I feel like since I did the work of just like, healing through past traumas and sort of learning, I was recently, honestly, I was recently diagnosed with CPTSD. So like I had a lot of time to just like think about that and like sort of learn like, oh, okay, my body is reacting. Why is it triggered right now? And I finally had time to do the work instead of like, working and then going to do a show and then like going. It's just like, okay, how do I fix this? And I'm glad that I did. And now that, I've done the work with the healing, I'm still healing though.
Always.
Always. We always will heal. And it's sort of just like, all right, I think I'm ready to go back and try this again.
Yeah, it was so great to have you in the 24-hour fest. How did you feel about that experience? I know it was still online.
Oh yeah, it felt good. It's been a minute since I acted. Like, and when I received the script, I was just like, oh yeah. And then I'm like, doing the whole acting thing of just like, oh, uh backstories and like, oh, why did she say this? Like, like the actions and stuff, and just like it felt really good to be back, and I'm super excited because I feel like, I don't know, even though there was like sort of a hiatus for art, there's also like a change in the air. Does anybody feel that too? Just
For
like,
sure.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
The
yeah,
people are demanding it, and it must be so.
exactly. So yeah.
Yeah, Sharon was in a Lee Tonouchi piece, which
Which
was
is
amazing
kind of
because like
popular in Hawaii.
I
just so
was
you
like,
know.
how is he gonna write not pigeon? And he did really well because like half of Sharon's line was not pigeon, and then the other half was like heavy Filipino pigeon. And it was like, oh, this is amazing. Like he figured out a way to like take these actors and like make it all happen.
But
This
you
is-
had
yeah.
two other actors that were from Hawaii, and then your writer is from Hawaii, and then you had Ellen as a director. So how was it working with so many Hawaii people? Do you feel like they have a different vibe, or?
Oh yeah, it was really nice, to be honest, because like, working with Paco in Pakololo's suite, and like the only native Hawaiians that I've had to, talk to is Hana and
Yeah, Milani.
Antilani. Yeah. And
Yeah.
like it was nice to just like, I really love your guys' vibes. And then like, sort of having the opportunity to get to know more Native Hawaiians after I did a Native Hawaiian piece was just, it was nice to chill and get to know more and learn more about Hawaii itself after doing a show about it, you know?
Yeah. And Scott,
Yeah.
I know
Awesome.
you're from Hawaii, but you've been working here now. Like, do you feel like the vibe is different in Hawaii when you work versus here?
Oh
Depending
I
on
yeah.
feel
which
like it
theater,
is.
yeah.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's so different. Gosh, okay. The first thing that comes to mind is post show hangouts. That's the first thing that comes to mind
Mhm.
because here, at least with the improv scene, here everyone goes out to drink. That's what you do after your shows. I would say also somewhat for scripted theater, but like definitely for the improv and sketch scene, that you go out to drink. Back home, you go out to Zippy's and get some food. Um, BT Dubs, anyone who's not from Hawaii, Zippy's is like the most awesomest 24-hour diner in Hawaii. You gotta go.
And if you can't make it to Hawaii, try go Vegas because their only off-island location is in Vegas.
Yeah.
Chicken katsu, chili on spaghetti,
Ooh.
that kind of thing.
Fried chicken like no other.
Plate lunch, zip packs, which is like a baby bento, really.
So good. But like that's I think like the biggest first difference, you know, is like we satiate and build camaraderie over food as our like primary thing, you know. Other than that, I mean, I definitely don't feel singled out at all or isolated, you know, whether intentional or unintentional here in the mainland. I mean, that was the beauty really of working on Pakalolo Suite and Not One Batu is not only did I get to work with people from back home, but also fellow Asian Americans who are basically celebrating the culture of Hawaii. You know, I've also been with Stir Friday Night, which is an Asian American improv and sketch group. But even that, right? Like they're still mostly mainland folk. I'm the only non-mainland Asian person in that group, you know. So there's some differences that are a little different sometimes. Not bad, just different.
Yeah, speaking of Stir Friday, Stephen Yeun, right, was part of that. And we just started actually watching his cartoon superhero show, Invincible. It's on Amazon Prime. It's pretty freaking amazing. We were like 2 episodes in and it's fantastic. I just need to plug that for Amazon because they, you know, need the money. But I don't want to discount the stories that you were telling, Scott, and this thing of like, I've never been attacked walking down the street in Chicago, but I have all the fear and trauma as if I have been. So when I'm walking down the street and I see anybody that seems a little shady to me, I'm like, let's cross the street. Let's cross the street. I need to like be somewhere else. And that fear. Yeah, that happened yesterday.
And I was like, it's the homeless dude I gave money to yesterday. We're cool. Like,
yeah. She's like, we know this homeless dude. I'm like, I know, but I just feel weird. But there's all this fear that I think comes with the pandemic itself, like not just the quarantining, but how we feel as Asian and like othered, I guess, is that thing.
Yeah.
And so I kind of took that fear and I wrote a horror play called the Kasha Kaimuki, and it is about the most famous like haunted house in Hawaii, the Kaimuki house. It's like the Amityville horror house of like Hawaii. And so I like used my art, like it was a huge self-care thing, but also a fun story to tell, to like put my fear somewhere so I wasn't holding on to it. And I'm just wondering like how after these altercations, like how did you get it out of your body? Like the adrenaline and whatever else is in there, you know?
Well, so I was on my way to work when this all happened. And when I got to work, I told one of my coworkers and she was like, you should go home. But I was like, no, I shouldn't. I need to stay here. I work at a museum here in the city. And I mean, frankly, that place makes me feel safe, you know? And so not only physically safe because we have all of these health rules there and we have security that makes sure that, you know, an incident like what happened on the street going to work wasn't going to happen, but also emotionally safe. Like they would give me the space if I needed to step away completely from everybody, to have a small breakdown, to react from the situation, you know? I think on top of that, just talking with a couple of people about it, you know, in many ways, it's kind of like I kind of look at it like if you get into a car accident, right? I mean, not like a major car accident, but you get into a car accident, one that damages your car, right? That first person you tell is gonna get the most epic car accident story ever,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But by the time you get to like the 15th person, it's like, yeah, I got into a car accident. I got to fix my door,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
And so that kind of helped me process it out as well. I'm not going to lie. I'm sure I'm still carrying some of it with me. But yeah. That's great that you got to use your art though to get it out of your system.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Karen,
I had to do something.
you mentioned something similar, Sharon, about like having some stuff physically in you that you were trying to work out. Do you want to tell us more about that, or you don't have to? Just curious, like, what do you do when you're in a place of like, oh, there's something in my body that I don't want? Do you have a
Oh,
self-care tool that you do to get rid of it?
oh yeah. My therapist taught me to do like a grounding tool, like when, when you're in a stressful situation or a situation where like you feel triggered and you feel like your heart's like pumping and like sort of like in a disassociative state if you're like uh panicking in a way, and like when your mind starts rushing and you're almost having like an anxiety attack, I don't know, but either way, one thing that helps me is that if you're outside or just like in a room, just like look at the sky, look out your window and just say, oh, the sky's blue, or oh, the leaves are green, and just focus on your actual surroundings. It's sort of like a what you call it, like a visual meditation in a way, or like, oh, there are three bunnies right there, and just sort of be like, oh, I'm present and in this moment. I don't have to be like stuck in my head. I'm here and I'm safe. So yeah, that's one of the things that I've learned to
That
do.
is such an awesome strategy.
Yeah, it really helps,
Yeah.
dude. And it's just like, especially when you're in your head, you feel like you're so like riled up into it. It's like, how do I get out of this? When really you could just look at what's in front of you
Right.
and you're safe.
Also, real deep. That's like real deep right there, right? Like when you're stuck up in your head and you can't figure out how to get out, just look right in front of you. Like,
Yeah.
I like that. It's giving me chicken skin. Like, that's so good.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like I'm going to have to be using that a lot as things get to some sort of a new normal and like parties start happening and more people in enclosed spaces. Like, I definitely will have some of that. Like, there's too many people. And I'll use your grounding tools to help me with that anxiety.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh my God. It feels weird, doesn't it? Like, of just people being like, oh, we have a show in like a month and a half, or concerts are starting back up and festivals.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I cannot even imagine. I cannot even imagine going to see a concert right now. Like, it just.
Would y'all go?
I mean, I wouldn't go to a concert. I have been pretty much this whole time been going to demonstrations and press conferences for the cannabis industry. So I've been around a good 30 people, but we're mainly outside and all masked.
Yeah, I'd go to an outdoor concert, but like
I don't know.
Anything indoors right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
That's thousands of people. I didn't even like going to concerts before COVID because I'm like trampling, shootings. Like I'm already paranoid as a person when it comes to like large gatherings. So Riot Fest maybe once or twice in my lifetime and I'm good.
I'm fine just listening to Riot Fest across the street.
Right.
Yeah, don't even need to pay that ticket price.
God, I wanted to go back to the food thing that you brought up because I know that you were going through like a life change with how you were eating. How's that going?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I gotta say, like, it's got its ups and downs. You know what I mean? So I've been using Noom,
Oh,
which is that app that like it's supposed to help you change your eating habits and things like that. And I will say, as somebody who has lived on the standard food from back home,
The ramen.
Noom is real hard. The ramen, the plate
Hot
lunches,
dogs.
the right, spam musubis, rice,
Rice.
rice for days. So it's been really hard, but it is allowing me to be more mindful about what I'm eating, which is great. And experimenting with new things, which is wonderful.
What's your
Yeah.
like favorite thing to eat right now?
Ooh.
I personally really love avocados. I have an avocado at least once a day. They're so filling.
Wow. If it's fresh, a fresh avocado is awesome. But the minute it starts getting goopy, I have a real hard time. Yeah. That and bananas. Once bananas get goopy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? It's probably not the healthiest thing in the world, but good gosh, I absolutely love short ribs.
Oh hell
Yeah, and like not the flanken cut. I think is the like not the Kalbi cut where they're thin, but like
Oh.
chunks. Because growing up, my dad would get the chunks of short ribs and put it on the grill, Hawaiian salt, ground pepper, throw some beer on there when the flames start splashing up. And so that's kind of what I've been eating a bit for comfort food, because that's what life is right now, is finding comfort food.
For sure. Sharon, what's your favorite food right now?
Oh man, I'm honestly also on a food journey of I can't eat rice, guys.
Me neither. I don't eat rice.
It sucks. As a Filipino person, my doctor's like, you need to stop eating rice. And I'm like, so I am on that
Very
journey of figuring out
inflammatory.
what I like. Yeah. Currently right now, I guess what have I been eating? Cauliflower pizza. Like
Oh,
cauliflower
wow.
actually slaps, like as pizza and as like rice slaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Oh, you should try it.
And
like
it's so good for you too.
it really
Cauliflower is one of the best vegetables for you.
I mean, I have thrown rice cauliflower in my fried rice with rice.
Start.
Yeah, so it's a start.
Yeah.
Like it's like hapa rice.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But I never thought about the pizza though. Like does it taste like pizza dough?
Yeah, I honestly just get the ones from Costco and it just says like, cauliflower like pizza with like the crust. And that is crispy. That shit's crispy. And it has like veggies on top. And I feel really healthy. I don't know. And it has all these veggies on it. I just eat it. Slaps.
Have you
Anna, add that to the list the next time we go to Costco. I want to try it.
We've seen it. And I've been like, oh, it has stuff in it I can't eat, but we'll get it for you, Hannah. Has your like mental, so I've also been on a healthy eating journey for the last 3 years. I've been anti-inflammatory diet for the last 3 years, and then pescatarian for a year. And my physical health has been like 95% better because I have an inflammatory disease. My emotional health has been like 85% better. No, wait, switch that. Physical health, not 85%, emotional health, 95%. So do you think your emotional health has been affected?
Oh yeah. Yes. I honestly also used to work at a donut shop and I left that job like 3 months ago, and the difference of just like not having those foods in front of me. I was like with like fried stuff like donuts and fried chicken. I worked at Do Right. And like and now I work at a cafe where it's more healthier foods. It's more like sandwiches and stuff, and having that for break instead of like a fried chicken sandwich or a donut. So different. And my insides feel way much better. Yeah, maybe like, yeah, I just don't feel as tired as I was before.
Yeah, higher energy levels, stamina.
Yeah. And living with a bunny too, I have to just eat all the veggies too. So
What kind of bunny do you have? Is there like a
yeah.
type?
Yeah, she's a Holland Lop, so she's one of those bunnies with, like the ears down. She's really
I love
sassy.
her.
She's a spicy meatball.
What made you get a bunny? How long have you had her?
I've had her for like maybe like 8 months now. I live alone, so I'm living in a studio, and then my cousin visited me from California, and she lived with me for like a week, and I was like, oh my god, it's so nice to actually have a person here. And then she left, and then I was like, oh no. I need a roommate now. Like I miss that. So I just got a bunny.
Well, why a bunny as opposed to like a dog or a cat?
I don't know. I guess, well, my friend has like a bunny cafe in Boys Town. Y'all should check it out. It's called Cuddle Bunny. And I sort of just like hang out there sometimes and like help her out to just like feed the bunnies and volunteer. And then, I got to know bunnies, and they're basically like cats, y'all. They're very sassy. Just give them some space, but they're also cuddly when they want to be. And I just thought that they would fit more with my lifestyle because I can't be home all the time. And if I get a puppy, I can't like take care of them because you have to be with the puppy like 24/7. But bunnies like to be alone.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh my gosh, y'all, they have yoga classes and
Yeah.
tie-dye parties at this place.
Do
I'm
the
just
bunnies jump on you when you're doing
yoga?
yoga?
is it like goat
Is that a
yoga?
thing?
Yeah. They just like butt
I've
their
done goat
like
yoga.
head, and they're like, hey,
Yeah.
what's up?
So cute.
Oh my gosh, let's do it. Let's go do some bunny yoga. I don't do
Now
yoga.
that
I
Han is-
usually just stretch. Like that's a thing. I don't yoga, but like I would bunny yoga.
Do it. They have like these giant bunnies too. Oh, I forgot what kind of bunnies those are, but they're so chill, dude. They're so nice.
So it sounds like some of your self-care was getting a bunny too.
Oh yeah. I guess it was
Yeah.
a little friend.
So you got a bunny friend. You started therapy. You got a better job that like has healthier food around you, which is awesome. What other self-care stuff do you feel like you incorporated during COVID?
Oh man, I don't know about y'all, but have y'all just sort of oh, it's getting kind of personal here, but just like
Love it.
cut off like the people that you didn't really need in life, like that were like negative or like, those sort of
But like it
friends.
didn't like it wasn't like a purposeful cutoff. It was just like,
It just
it's COVID
happened.
times. We just can't hang out, and then we just won't contact each other anymore. That's fine.
Right. Yeah. And I realized that too. I had sort of like some of these relationships were toxic. We can either fix it or, we might just have to part our separate ways. I don't know if that's an early 20s thing, but like that's what happened to me during COVID.
That's like a really intelligent thing that I did not figure out until more recently, and I am not in my early 20s. So brava.
yeah, I'm with Anna on that one. And I will say that I do think that kind of like COVID does help with that, right? Like, because it's at that point it becomes mutual, right? Like, well, I'm not going to contact this person. If they really want to contact me, then they'll contact me. You break the cycle. If they want to continue the cycle, then there might be something to work with, right?
Right.
If you break the cycle and they're not trying to rekindle that cycle, well, there we go. No answer is an answer.
Bye.
Yeah, so I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and I built more acquaintances with like just folks in the community because we have a front deck, and so like I'll sit out on the front deck and like hang out with the cats or whatever, and like people will walk by and we'll wave at each other, and then it's like, oh, I've seen this person like the past 5 days, like we're kind of friends, but we're absolutely not, and I'm so happy about like this semi relationship I have with this person.
Safety thing too, to like know your neighbors and feel safe around your neighbors for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so lovely.
What about you, Scott? Are there like more self-care stuff that you've incorporated during COVID?
Yeah, so I will say that like so this is what COVID did for me that I'm ironically very grateful for because of my fear of people. Um,
You have
not
a
just
fear of
not just
people? I never
not
would
just
have thought that.
no. I mean COVID times fear of people.
Okay,
Like
cool.
Okay.
yeah. No, I don't have a general fear of people, but like that like I'll take a train if I have to take a train. But even then it's like, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, there's 15 people in this car. 2 of them are smoking. I want to get off,
Mhm.
you know?
What are they
Oh, because you
smoking?
take the red line. That's
Typically
what's
cigs.
up.
Yeah,
Typically
it's the red line.
I mean, I've
And-
definitely seen someone smoking crack on the train and was like, I need to get out of this air right now.
Yeah,
True.
I mean, I could have. I don't know what that smells like.
Well, it's
Right.
usually a pipe and it doesn't smell like weed.
Fair, fair. I did not see anything that we might have used for not one Batu. That being said, I bike a bunch now. Like that's my jam.
Nice.
And it's gosh, I don't know, like 17 miles or so
Yeah.
from the museum to where I live.
Wow.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it feels good. It's something that I always used to do when I was a kid. You know, Hannah, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like just
Yeah. Oh,
biking around the
yeah.
neighborhood, right? Like just that's what you do on a Saturday and Sunday.
Right. That's
You
where
know?
how you get places.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's taking me back there to those moments, and I got to see more aspects of the city that I haven't gotten to see before, which is really lovely. Um, like on the lake path, when you take the turn, um, before you get to Navy Pier, there's like this small harbor that's kind of like on that side of the lake path, basically across the street from Maggie Daley Park.
Yeah, and there's a hot dog
Right.
stand. I used to work there.
Okay, right, that hot dog stand. So then, like just past there, and then you're taking that turn. I think you know the view that I'm going to be talking about then, because like it's my new favorite view of looking at the Field Museum
Oh
and
yeah.
Adler and the shed, because there's just something very sci-fi, peaceful, you
Oh, I think
know.
I know where you're talking about. Yeah, there's a moment where I like skated over there when you're like by the museums, like near the trees, right? Are there a lot
Yeah,
of
so this is
trees?
like further north of the museum campus area, but that whole area, like I just love
So
that
pretty.
whole area. It's super pretty. Um,
Something about the lake that's just very soothing.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
When
yeah.
it's like the trees meet the lake over there, which is I think a lot of the north is more like they have the beaches and stuff. So it doesn't
Right.
feel like it feels like there's more of a separation. I kind of at that place that you were talking about when we started Nothing Without a Company, I had this grand idea to do Lord of the Flies, like an adaptation of Lord of the Flies with all females in that spot, because I was like, that would be perfect. You can like get in the woods and then you can get in the water. But I think like we couldn't figure out permitting things and we couldn't fly under the
Can't get a
radar with
permit
an
for the beach.
adaptation like that. And there's just so many tourists in that area that I feel like we would have been called out so hard. So we were like, no, we're never going to do it. And then now that I'm like X amount of years older, I'm like, why do I want to take this white guy's story? Like, I want to just build my own stories at this point. Like, we
Hey,
could do
period.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, there's this beautiful on the south side on the lake path, almost by Bronzeville, maybe 35th overpass. There's this really beautiful like rock, um, like sitting area where your back is to the ocean or to the ocean. Your back is to the lake.
Deceiving.
And there's just like a small little like rock like table basically set up in the middle of this like semicircle. And I've rode past there a few times. There have been small like DJ performances happening there. And recently I was thinking like this would be an awesome outdoor performance spot, you know, because it's
Yeah, it feels built for that kind of thing.
built for that. It's like green for at least 100 yards, both directions, left and right, 50 yards deep of green flat, and one big tree in the middle of it. Like behind all of that, or in front of that semicircle. So it's things like that. That has given me so much joy biking home. Getting to see these small little things.
And like finding those pockets of nature in this huge concrete
gosh.
jungle we live in.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Did you take a break during COVID with making art, or did you like? Where'd you take a little break?
Kind of, yeah, I would say so. Like I did one storytelling gig for Filet of Solo with Stir Friday Night. But that's really like the only performance thing. I've auditioned for a whole bunch of stuff. I probably auditioned more for things this past year than I ever have before, because it's all virtual auditions.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So did that make you feel more comfortable, or like why did you end up auditioning for more?
I would say definitely more comfortable, right? Like I could finish working, or I could take an hour out of my lunch from like work, since I'm working at home, to then do a quick audition cut, file it, at the end of work do a couple of more, and then be able to send out whatever video that I wanted for that audition, as opposed to having to take 2 or 3 hours out of my day to go to audition at a place.
That makes sense.
Yeah, efficiency wise, it's lovely. Yeah.
Were
Is
you all
improv still-
viewing? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just curious if improv's still going on, like virtually.
Some people have tried. Some people have really succeeded.
Oh.
Sorry, there's a train.
Oh yeah, our neighbors watch comedy sports. Like they were a huge comedy sports, like going out to see them. But since the pandemic, like on Saturday nights, they're outside watching comedy sports, interacting with them. So like you can like shout out a subject or whatever, or they'll ask specific, like, hey audience, like do this thing, and they'll type in their answers or whatever. So it can be interactive still.
Yeah. And like in that sense, that's the thing that's really lovely about this whole situation, right? Is we get to be creative. So while I'm not doing actual art for art, I do get to kind of fulfill that with my job, which is like developing programs and sharing content with guests, either in person or virtually. And so that creative part of me gets utilized a whole bunch in that way. I think there are some improv groups that are going to start making live comebacks soon, though.
Oh, cool.
So as it is, how are we with being vaxxed, and how do we feel about it?
I'm on
Hannah
my
and
first.
Yeah, go ahead, Hannah.
Yeah, we had our first vaccine. We get of the Moderna. We get our second shot June 3rd, and have like decided we're taking like 3 days off no matter what. So even if we don't feel symptoms, it'll be a good self-care mental thing for us, just to be like, we don't have to work. That's okay. Like we can just lay in bed and watch stupid shit all day or whatever. Like we can walk to the lake if we want, because there's nothing to tell us we can't in these moments.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, as a person, I'm fully vaxxed. So like, and I got my second dose, and I I live alone, so it almost killed me. Not killed me actually, but just like physically, I just felt like I was dying. And yeah, I highly recommend taking those 3 days off. Like totally.
Yeah, we've got a Costco trip planned, so we're gonna like load up on the electrolytes. We're gonna make soup the day before, just in case. Like I've never prepped for being sick before, and I'm like so stoked, because I'm like, oh, I know if it hits me, I'm gonna be ready. I'm gonna have my Jello. We'll be okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm also fully vaxxed, and
So we're the late ones, Hannah.
I mean, I know for myself, a big part of it was because like I'm working at a museum and all the commuting I had to do. I was like, I want this so bad. Like I'm gonna fight tooth and nail. And fun fact: the Walgreens website, or really all the websites, are so troublesome.
Oh yeah.
But the customer service line is amazing. And so I
Oh,
acted like a straight up, yeah, non-tech person and called up customer service, talked to a human, and had a human set it up for me.
nice.
Oh, that's
It was
wonderful.
awesome. But yeah, for like 2, 3 days, I was in a rough way.
Did that arm hurt?
The arm hurt. I slept for like 16, maybe 18 hours straight.
Same.
Yeah.
But afterwards, it
wow.
was amazing. Just like waking up
Yeah.
and like not having any symptoms, and you're just like, oh my God, I think that was the rest that I needed.
Oh yeah, yeah. I woke up and I was like, yes. I started lifting up bookcases. I mean,
Yes.
it was great.
Isn't it so nice when we give ourselves permission to just sleep?
Yes.
That's a big self-care tool that I use often is I like my 9 hours of sleep every day. I just 9 hours is my sweet spot for sure.
Well,
It gives me a couple hours of morning time to like do whatever I want. It's great.
yeah. I think I've had conversations with all y'all about like how I used to be like, no, 4 hours of sleep is fine for me. I have finally like turned the corner on that, and I am thoroughly enjoying an 8 hour sleep. It is,
Wow.
yeah.
What's the
So,
difference that you feel with that?
I don't know. Like, I think it is like just general like cognitive, an increase in cognitive ability. Frankly,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I have ADD, so getting more sleep allowed me to stay a little more focused. I can definitely feel it now when I don't get enough sleep that my focus is trash.
Nah, same. I need at least 6 hours too, or like my head is just somewhere else, you know?
Yeah, I'm in the 6 to 8 hour zone. So is there
Yeah.
anything that you are hoping to return to like it was before the pandemic?
Yeah,
I'm like, I want to return to theater, but not necessarily as close as I was to strangers. Like a seat apart would be fine. I don't need 6 feet.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get sushi. I want to get hot pot.
Oh, hell yeah.
So it's all food related for you.
And you know what?
Some
Yeah,
dim
in a
sum.
way, yeah. I want to. I also want to go to a movie. Like I miss
Yeah.
Ooh,
going to
yes.
movies.
I want to go to the music box. I miss
Okay.
that.
People are
Yeah,
already
what-
going back to the music box. Our
Oh,
friend
really?
Patty,
Yeah,
she
and-
started going back a while ago.
Through
Yeah.
the pandemic, they also had they have this itty bitty outside area in the back past the bar and the back bathrooms. And so they were doing just like putting a movie on the wall and having like 10 people because like that's all you could fit comfortably separated in there. But like 10 people a showing or whatever. You could buy a ticket and sit outside and watch a movie. But they are getting back to some things, which is super nice.
And
Yeah, I'm sure they could use the
noted.
income too. If you feel like going to a
Yeah.
movie, Sharon.
Oh, I will. I
Yeah, and
miss
they have
going
like
alone.
sections, I suppose, like because like their big theater is like 100 something seats, or I probably even more than that as I think about it, but they're only letting about 10% of the seats filled. So
Nice.
like you have a lot of space like away from people. So it's really what I've heard, it's very, very nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, especially summer. I'm like, I want to get back to a movie because that's where the best air conditioning is. It's the movie theater.
True.
It's so comfy in there, you know?
Yeah.
I also specifically for Music Box. I mean, it's Christmas, so we got some time to go. But It's a Wonderful Life and White Christmas, their double feature.
Yes.
That's become a tradition for me. Oh,
We
so
were
good.
doing that for the past 3 years, so we'll have to call you up and be like, which day are you
Yes.
going? And we always did the Sound of Music during Thanksgiving times. They did Sound of Music sing along, and they give you these
Ooh.
It's
little
really
bag of
fun.
props, and it's so fun. And so we like would do that every year. So there are a few things that I'm like, I'd like to get back to that thing. And
Karen,
like
I was going to ask you
do small
about
stuff.
your singing, because I love, sorry to cut you off on it, but
No,
like
go.
I just love your voice so much. And
Oh my
I was
gosh,
just
yeah.
wondering if you like sing at all for self-care, or like if singing is a self-care tool for you at all.
Oh yeah, always, to be honest. I sing at work. We're not allowed to listen to music. I work like in the back of house and like in the cafe, like in the kitchens most of the time. And so like I just sing by myself. And since I work in the food industry, what I realize when I do get a little bit overwhelmed, that's when I start singing. Yeah, singing is truly a self-care form for me. And
Yeah,
I've
Anna
started to
too.
like, oh, for real?
Yeah, well, she started doing kitchen karaoke, so she'll put her phone, her YouTube on
Hell
in the
yeah.
kitchen, and then
While I
like
do
be
dishes.
cooking, doing
Yes.
dishes, and just sing karaoke.
Yes.
I definitely do that on my bike rides home too, because that's what I miss most about driving is like being able to like belt out. I'm like, you know
Yes.
what? I want a bike. If somebody hears me sing off key, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because you'll be gone in 2 seconds.
Right.
Well, and I feel like the thing about singing is it's about breath control. And when you're working on your breath work, that's where the like self-care comes in, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's all
Yeah.
about like
Of
with
just
meditation,
breathing.
it's all about breathing, and yoga, it's about breathing. Like it's
Yeah.
great.
And you got to be in the present moment because you have to be listening for the key and the
Yeah.
words and everything. Yeah.
Oh man, I miss karaoke.
Uh,
I think that's
Oh,
what
like-
I'm also. I don't know how bars are gonna do that. Like
Bring your
in
own
the,
mic. Why
you
not?
know, I guess true. BYOM.
I would
That's
do
actually
it.
a
I would
great
bring my own mic
idea.
for karaoke. Like that
No,
would
yeah,
be fine with
same.
me.
Everyone needs to hear me. It's my turn now.
Right?
That's
I
awesome. And then
honestly
just
like
jack
have a
other
list.
people's frequency. That's great.
Bring your own speaker.
Y'all are so awesome. It's so fun that we all have similar things going on with our self-care. And just we all are in different places with it, which is really cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good to see you guys too. It's been a minute.
It
We'll
has
hear you
been.
for the podcast people.
But like that's the
Oh,
other thing, right? Like just talking story. This, you know what? That's what I miss. I
True.
miss talking story. Just like sitting in a living room and
Ugh,
just like
yes.
talking
Smoking a
story for
joint.
hours.
I mean, for me.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you
Oh,
can
yeah.
smoke your Pacololo, so I can have his beer, whatever.
Yeah.
It's
I'll
all
be
good.
vaping, you know.
Yeah.
I'll be at the
Somebody gotta
snack
have
table.
the Heineken. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, we miss y'all so much.
Yeah.
Eventually we will do the entire trilogy. We're just not sure how or when, but it'll happen.
One day.
Yeah.
But you know, it was
Oh.
really great seeing Aloha Friday though performed by Kumu. Like that was amazing. Like that was beautiful.
Yeah, they're getting really great with this online platform through because they're in their 50th season right now, and every show they've done has been online. And if you watch them in order in which they've been produced, you can see the quality just go up with every show. You're like, oh, they learned so much on this one, and then the next one's so much better. And so I think the Untitled TMT project is their show that's currently happening, and you can get tickets online. I like to go on the Sundays because it's 2 p.m. Hawaii time, so 7 p.m. our time.
Mhm.
Perfect for viewing because we didn't get tickets in time for their last show, and I was up at midnight watching this show, just trying not to fall asleep because it was so late, not because the play was great. It was all a Micronesian story. It was beautiful play,
interesting.
but it was quiet, and I was like, oh, I need to like snack. I need to do things to stay awake. because it's so late at night and I'm not usually up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us today for As It Is Like It Was.
I am Hannah E. Epstein, and you can find me on Instagram at hcat5.
Yeah, and I am Anna Rose E. Epstein. You can find me on Insta at Anna Rose E. Epstein, spelled I Epstein. And Sharon, how can the people find you?
Oh yeah, people can find me on the IG as well. It's my last name, Pasha, spelled P_A_S_I_A. Yeah.
And Scott, how can the peoples find you?
I'm also on the Insta. You can find me at Scott Improv. Yeah.
Well, thank
just
you
simply-
so much to our guests, Sharon Pasha, Scott Hanada. Happy Asian American Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And you, our audience, you can email us with any questions or comments at hannah@nothingwithoutacompany.org or annarose@nothingwithoutacompany.org with As It Is Like It Was in the subject line. And you can support As It Is Like It Was by donating at nothingwithoutacompany.org. Share the podcast with your friends and family, and subscribe, follow, and like us on all the socials.
And that's the lowdown, Dad.